So let's dive into a world where iron meets ambition and sculpted physiques become testaments to the relentless pursuit of strength and aesthetics. Today, we're chatting all about the captivating world of bodybuilding. Beyond the chiseled physiques lies a world of discipline, dedication, and self mastery. However, not without its controversies, including debates surrounding performance enhancing substances and extreme dieting practices, which have stirred both admiration and criticism. So, joining me today is Alexandra Height, or Alex Height. She is a 6-year competitive bodybuilder and certified coach. And we're going to explore the multifaceted history, positive influences, and controversies that shape the narrative of bodybuilding. Alex, welcome.
Thank you.
So excited to have you on here and so intrigued about jumping into this topic because I followed you for many years now. And fun little fact for the audience and those watching is Alex and I went to high school together. So we've been friends for, I'm going to date us a lot. Gosh, is it 20 years? No, it's not. We graduated in 2007.
It's close. Yeah, if you count freshman year.
Yep, we're getting up there.
Just about. We're getting old. It's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, I've we've been friends for a while, and I've seen your evolution and how you got into this. Tell us more about, what's your story? What started this? What got you interested in bodybuilding?
Well, I did play sports in high school and grade school. After high school, I went to a local university in Michigan. It's a private university, Lawrence Tech, and they didn't have any sports of any kind there. So I started turning to working out, like in a gym, just going in, kind of going through movements. I didn't really know what I was doing. And then my now husband got me into actually like training and following a plan. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until 2017, his mom passed away from cancer pretty quickly. And I needed a distraction. And so she and I had always joked about doing a show together. And so I was like, screw it. I signed up for a show. And 12 weeks later, I was on stage. Oh my gosh. And I just fell in love with it immediately. I loved the focus. I loved the structure. Mm-hmm. I loved having a goal in mind, something like tangible that you can almost touch. Winning or losing, it was just something like that really put my mind into focus and let me see a whole new side of myself and what I was capable of and how far I could push myself. And that's just been my love for it. I love the game. I love all of it.
Yeah. So when you mentioned when you first got into it, you signed up for a show. It was 12 weeks later. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that a typical timeline? I mean, how long are you training to do these competitions? What does that timeline look like typically?
Well, back then, yeah, I mean, 12 weeks is pretty normal. I started my current prep in the early December. So that was about 19 weeks out from my first show. The amount of time you want to do prep, which is what we call it, really depends on how well you do in the off season, whether you stick to your diet in the off season, whether you can stay structured. Because if you fall off the rails and you put on too much body fat, you're going to need more time to get it off. Okay. Drastic cuts are really not the way to go. It hurts your hormones, it hurts your organs, your livers, your kidney. So the more you can kind of stretch it out, the more effective it will be and the healthier it will be on your body as a whole.
So that's very interesting because like we were talking about with some of the controversies that surround it, it's extreme discipline. I mean, what are some of the things that you can and cannot eat when you are preparing for competition?
Like I really don't eat any processed foods. I really don't in the off season either, but I will still enjoy some. Mostly all clean foods. What I eat right now a lot of is like rice, potatoes, chicken, lean ground beef, tons of vegetables, oats, blueberries. That's pretty much it. I try to keep my sugar down to like 20 milligrams a day, which is not a lot. And if you add,
sounds like those are kind of the diets that people not should, there's no should and woulds, but as far as avoiding processed foods and some sugars, I mean, you hear a lot about that for just even regular people. How does that impact your training?
It depends on the amount of what you're doing. So everything does something different for you. Protein helps you build your muscle mass. So I always keep my protein way higher than what my actual weight is.
Okay.
The carbs are giving you energy and they're also helping to build. But that's normally what we start to bring down as my cut goes closer to the show. By the time I get close to my show, like 2 weeks out, I have almost no carbs in my diet whatsoever. And it makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
And crazy. I do things like put milk in the cupboard, put my keys in the freezer. They call it, they say it's very equivalent to like pregnancy brain, which
Like
is
just
funny.
kind of like delusional, like
Oh, 100%. I'm extremely delusional, and your fats come down too. So that doesn't help. Fats are also part of your energy, so we tend to increase salt, which helps bring up energy, also helps with blood flow. And then you also have to watch electrolytes. So we tend to drink like 1.5 to 2 gallons of water a day. So you have to make sure you're replenishing your electrolytes. You don't flush them out.
Wow. And so that's when you get closer to that competition day, and when you say like take the stage, like that's how you get so trim and thin, right? Or I shouldn't say thin, but like lean, extremely lean.
Yeah, it's a huge science experiment, and every single time is a little bit different because your body, you never know how your body's going to respond.
Yeah.
For instance, last year, 2022, I should say, we decided to play with my food the day of my show. So what you eat on the day of your show can either help or hurt you, depending on what you eat, because you've basically depleted your whole body. And so eating carbs will normally pump you back up. And so all you see is the muscle, everything else still stays small.
Okay.
And so in 2022, my coach wanted to try to dirty carb me, which is what we call it. And she gave me like blueberry pancakes and bacon for breakfast. And it was within 5 minutes, I looked like a totally different shape. It was astounding.
Good or bad?
Good.
Okay.
So then all day she kept feeding me like Rice Krispie treats or whatever was in, because I needed dirty carbs to make my muscles look full.
Okay. Now, I like how you say, it is all of science. And I remember you had studied culinary arts as well. So would you say that that's kind of an influence of why you decided to maybe, work into bodybuilding?
Maybe. I never really thought about it like that. But I do think it gives me an advantage because people complain a lot while competing that the food is so bland, it's boring, it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And I don't ever feel like that.
Yeah. Because you know how to make all the cool stuff.
And I found ways around it. So it still tastes good, but it's still boring. But at least it's not just like chicken and rice. It's chicken and rice with a flair.
So a question that I have that I feel like, it's something for people that watch from the outside that's really intriguing is, so the tanning, the tanning, I got to ask about the tanning. Tell me about the tanning, please.
The tanning is just a way for your muscle definition just to pop out more.
So are they like, I mean, I know it's not drawing, but it's not like a regular, like, self-tanning mitt, or you go into the self-tanner, like, are they like going based on your muscle shape and like helping?
No, it's probably the thing everyone wants to see the most because they're so intrigued by it. And it's the only thing that like you can't come in and see. So basically you get 2 tans.
Okay.
Before a show, you get one the night before, and then you get one top coat the day of, and that makes you even darker. So the one the night before, you go into a little room. They normally have like a bubble tent.
Yep.
You stand inside the bubble tent, you get naked, and there's a lady with a spray, and she sprays you. You have to stand, and she's a rolling pin, and she rolls it to clean up the drips or anything.
Oh, on your body?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you go and you stand in a room with fans with your arms up, and you just stand there for a while with a bunch of other naked ladies trying not to look at each other. And that's it.
I mean, it is fascinating because when you see it, and then like I've seen like your photos, and I'm like, damn girl, like you look incredible. But then I look at it, it's just everyone is so dark.
And it like comes off if you touch it. Yeah.
So how long is something like that lasting?
It'll stay on for like a good 2 weeks sometimes. It depends. I'll try to exfoliate it off just because I don't like it sitting in my pores. But
Wow.
the top coat you can wash off immediately. It'll come right off.
Yeah. I kind of, that's always been I've always wanted to ask somebody that question about like, what are the tans? They're so dark.
But what's more funny is you have to like clean your skin completely for like a week prior.
Yeah. Like
You have to do
exfoliate so it sticks.
Yep. And then there's like, you can't wear deodorant. You can't wash your hands. Peeing is a big struggle.
Oh,
because you can't get streaks down your legs. I make cups that I take with me to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
Like
So
a whole sleeve of them.
Okay, like there's so much dedication. Obviously, it's like the food and the fitness aspect, but then like preparing for this, like you're talking about with what you can and can't do, having the spray tan. I mean, like even what is the other thing that I was thinking about was I mean, don't you have to have bikinis made, like certain bikinis created?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they have to be specific to your measurements. You can buy some like just from a website, but I have done that once early on while competing and I hated it.
Okay.
I didn't like the way it fit. So when I have a lady I go to, she's out of Colorado. And I pick some colors and I'm like, I kind of want something like this. And she's like, I got it. And then I sent her measurements like 3 different times throughout my prep.
Okay.
And then she makes it, ships it. And it's beautiful always.
Yeah. Well, I remember you'd posted some photos of it and it was cool because it was like bedazzled.
So bedazzled.
So nice.
I know my mom's always like, why don't you wear, she asked me on a family trip, why don't you wear that bikini? Like you can't wear that. And I've spent way too much money on that thing.
Right,
It's not going in the pool.
Right. No. How much does a bikini like that cost?
Well, I think my last one was around $1,200.
Well, oh, okay. That was even more than I thought.
Yeah. Dang. But again, it's custom. You don't have to get custom. I just prefer it. I know it's going to fit me. I know where it's going to sit on my hips.
Yep.
I have a really long torso, so I need one that like the 80s style cut.
Yeah. Yeah, like way up the bikini.
Way up. It needs to be like even with my belly button, and the standard sizes don't do that.
Wow. Let's switch gears a little bit, going back to some of the discipline, nutrition, and then like, because I want to understand more about what are you judged on, but also, one of the most controversial things that people always think of when they see bodybuilders are, steroids. Now, debunk that for us a bit, because I mean, I know you personally, and I know the amount of dedication that you put into this. What does that look like? I mean, high level, or even, maybe some of the things that you see having been in this for 6 years.
So if you're talking high level, which would be like IFBB pros, those are the people that are at like the Olympia every year, those giant people.
Okay. Yeah.
They're on almost everything, any PEDs, performance enhancing drugs.
Okay. But that's not illegal for them to do that. It's almost a gain for them for that competition. Like it's like, obviously the Olympics, if you got caught with that, it's no-go.
Correct. So when I started competing, I started in the all natural organizations. So we had to follow Olympic rules. We had to be WADA compliant, which is the World Anti-Doping Association.
Yeah.
In 2020, that was my last season competing in the all natural league. I lost my pro card because I left that division. So I had to start back at the bottom where I'm at now. Because we heard girls in the back talking about all the gear and PEDs that they had been taking and then flushed them out in time for the show.
Oh.
And I was just heartbroken. Like, why do that?
Well, with all the work that you're putting into it and the peers around them are putting into it, it's like.
And you can easily find another organization to go compete in and take substances. But that was why I left All Natural. And I went into NPC, which is like the standard organization. And I do take things now that I couldn't take in All Natural, but they are not steroids. They're more things to help me cut So they help me lean out while maintaining muscle mass, and they're not illegal, but you can't take them in the all natural division. Okay. So there's a fine line. There's a lot of things that you can't take in all natural because they're not WADA compliant, but they're not illegal. Yeah. And so that's like the fine line there. But if you're referring to like the giant dudes on the Olympia stage, they're on more than steroids is not really that's like a low ball thing. They're up here.
Oh my God. Oh gosh. Wow. So when you look at, again, going back to the amount of discipline, I mean, I just know on a small scale for myself, if I want to cut out sugars or, alcohol or carbs, it takes a lot of mental capacity sometimes. And even like your body going through so many changes, and like you're talking about the changes that your body goes through as you're preparing, and, even allowing yourself to open up a bit in the off season, but still be somewhat more disciplined. So it's easier for you to get within that same stride. When you like go out to eat and you're, maybe going to a friend's house for a party, or you're wanting to be around friends and they're eating all these different things. How has the program and the discipline changed your relationships with others, as well as your relationship with food?
Well, I see food differently now. I don't see like a beautiful charcuterie board. I see like fats, low protein, no carbs. And I see like what I shouldn't be eating. So I have like 20 million different conversations going on in my head when I go somewhere, and I've gotten to a point more recently now where I can step back and just appreciate being there, not focus on that. Like, I understand that this one day is not going to deter all the work I've done, and the relationships and what I want to be there for is more important. Right. So that's been really good, because that is a big struggle for a lot of us. It's hard to let that go. It's always in the back of your head. Even like drinking a glass of wine, I'm like, well, this is like 30 grams of carbs. Like, I don't, I can't shut it down. I just have chosen not to embrace it. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I want to be present and be involved. So people still invite me places.
Well, yes, of course. But then also it's not, you're not anxiety ridden, just thinking like, I can't participate, or I can't, which, I think there's a whole other conversation to be had about if people don't drink, or, you know what I mean? Like, you should never feel pressured into something like that either.
No, but it does make marriage hard, especially during my season. Because oftentimes I don't want to do anything, partly because it makes other people uncomfortable when I go somewhere and don't eat. Yeah. Or don't drink. They'll be like, oh, why, you can't just have I made a reel about this recently. Yeah. They're like, oh, you can't just have one bite. One bite's gonna, I'm like, no, it's not like, no, one bite would not do anything. Right. However, why? Like, when I step on stage, I want to know I have done every single thing in my power to be the very best I can be. Yeah. I want to know I haven't skipped any workouts. I haven't skipped any cardio. I haven't eaten off plan. I want to know I've put my best foot forward, so that even if I come in last, I can still be proud of what I've done. Yeah. Yeah. So one bite wouldn't make a difference, but it really does.
Right. Okay. So then I ask in that perspective, because I'm this curious, but I don't want to call it a disorder, but do you think that it's common for people that have spent so much time in bodybuilding to have maybe a distorted relationship with food after they're out of it? Or, tell me more about what you've seen in the industry.
100%. We have a lot of disorders. Relationships with food is a big one. I think every single person in the bodybuilding community works on that daily. Yeah. Body dysmorphia. Yeah. Is really aggressively hard, especially right after a show. Yeah. When you start to put weight back on and you're like, man, I look terrible. And you don't, but you don't look as good as you did. Sure. And it's really hard to wrap your head around that. But once you're out of it for a little while, it settles and you remember like, oh, this is why I can go out and have drinks with friends and I can, be a part. But that's why there's people that stay lean year round. And that's where it starts to get unhealthy.
Right. Right. Well, as much as I know a coach that helps with the process of getting to that point, do you feel as though bodybuilders have mental health resources to help with what happens next, or coming down off that high?
I think as long as you have a good coach in your corner, you for sure do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't stop coughing. I'm sorry. Like I had a coach, my first coach was not good in that. She wrecked my hormones and a lot of other parts of my body by how she treated my competitions. Wow. But the coach I have now is amazing. She cares about my health, my internal health, my longevity. She would never put me at risk for long-term health just to place in a show.
Right.
Which is important.
Should. Yeah.
Right. That's not all coaches. And after prep, after your shows are done for the season, you have to reverse diet. So you have to slowly come back to normal.
Okay.
You can't just rocket right back into.
Oh, it's like normal. A shock to the system, I think.
Yeah. So you would I've seen girls put on like 30 pounds in a week because they didn't reverse diet.
Wow. Well, and again, this is such a small data pool that I can pull from, but I've done Whole30 twice. And it's kind of the same with that, as they say, you're working to eliminate, definitely for understanding more about gut health and things that you're, maybe allergic to that might be good for you, but not good for you. Right. But the same thing is like you skip out dairy, carbs, alcohol, sugars, all these different things. And then day 30 comes around, it's like, oh, good to go. No,
that's like my biggest faux pas with diets in general.
Yeah.
And why they don't work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really think there's such a thing as a diet. I think there should be
a
lifestyle change. You just need to find balance in what you do. Like people come up to me and they're like, oh, I just want to lose 5 pounds. And I go, and then what?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I go, and then what? What do you do when you lose 5 pounds? You're like, well, then I'll be good. I can go back to normal. I'm like, so this is my problem. Either you got to just find a balance, and you don't have to cut all sugar out. You don't have to cut all dairy out. Just don't eat sugar for every meal. Maybe, maybe save it for one small snack in the evening, or, once every 3 days, like depending on what you're trying to do. But it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It shouldn't be.
No. Yeah. And I like how you air quoted diet too, because I really
get crazy.
What is the other word? When you say like lifestyle, and I recently completed my health coaching certification as well. And, one of the big things that our focus was on behavior change, because you have so many people that are like, all right, like you said, I want to lose 5 pounds, 60 pounds in some cases, 100 pounds in some cases. And they get frustrated when they don't see results, or they don't see results that last.
Right.
And the whole goal is, how do you create behaviors that allow yourself to change your way of thinking about something so that you're more likely to be successful long-term? So you added some really great examples of, don't change your relationship with sugar and have it as something that you detest because you can't have it.
Right.
Have it in moderation, or have that date where you give yourself, a treat in some way. So that's interesting to hear, because there's so many, it's discipline at the end of the day for you guys, especially because your diet changes weekly, it sounds.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it's not about giving everything up. You just have to figure out what it is you do enjoy about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like people always tell me, they're like, I don't know how you get to the gym. That's my hardest part.
Oh,
I said, well, do you like sports bras, or do you like leggings? Do you like tennis shoes? And they're like, oh, I love tennis shoes. I'm like, okay, go buy a new pair of workout shoes, and then you'll be excited to go to the gym, at least for that. That'll get you the first time. Then you're there for the first time.
Yeah.
Then maybe you enjoy it. Maybe if you need another chance, you find something else that will get you excited to go.
Yeah. Oh, that
until
first
you,
time.
yeah, the first part, the very first day, first few days is always the hardest. So as long as you make a playlist that you're like really excited to listen to while you're there, find something that gets you excited to go. So that way it's not as hard that first time, that second time.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes routine.
Yeah.
But that's what I always tell people anyway.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up here, I'm curious what you would tell somebody that is maybe in the beginning stages of this journey. What are things that you would say as motivation, but also as a watch out?
I'd say for number one, if you sign up with a coach and they put you on 800 calories a day to run for the hills, that person does not care about you. I might say if someone tries to put you on a ton of drugs right away, run for the hills. But if it's something that you're really interested in, really passionate about, just know it's going to take time. And I would say be patient, trust the process. This is not easy. It's not always fun. I'm not motivated 80% of the time. Most of the time I would rather sit on the couch and watch something and enjoy time with my husband, but I don't. I go to the gym, my days right now are like, I wake up at 4, I go do morning cardio at the gym. I come home. I get ready. I go to work. I come home from work. I change. I go back to the gym. I'm there for another 2.5 hours. I come home, I eat, I go to bed. So it's struggle. It's challenging, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, when can we look out for you on the stage next, and where can we find you?
I will be stepping on stage in North Carolina on April 6th.
In Charlotte?
Yes, it's the Charlotte Cup.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'm going to have some links to your social media accounts added into the description of this. And I'm excited to see how things go and keep in touch on things. It's going to be amazing. But thank you for taking the time to share your story with us.
Of course. Happy to help.
Thank you.